about his side's 4-1 defeat earlier on this week to the hands of the Merseyside rivals Liverpool. I do find that little thing that he said there about stats and running Carlton just a little bit baffling. They got beat 4-1. Of course they were running a lot because they were chasing Liverpool around the pitch. That's what you were running at, trying to get the ball back off them. You couldn't get it off them.
Listen, you've got to be careful with stats, right? A lot of people rely on stats now. They've got the players have all these vests on and everything. Listen, at the end of the day, you watch Barcelona play, they have 90% of the ball, right? And a lot of the ball is in their own half, right? So you can have 10% possession. It's what you do when you got possession of the ball. Stats can be misleading. At the end of the day, the bottom line is the result, and they got beat 4-0. That's as simple as it is. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, they had a good 10-15 minute spell, but then that mistake by Coleman, which let Salah in for his second, that was it then. Game over. Now, off the back of this, some people might have seen on social media that Everton fan groups, and I believe that the originators of this are the Originals 1878 on Twitter, at Originals1878. They are behind a movement which other fan groups are starting to get involved in regarding their game against Arsenal this weekend. And the hashtag is 27 minutes for 27 years. Obviously, 27 years since there's been silverware at Goodison. So let's speak to Paul McAllister. Paul, welcome to the show. How are you, mate?
I'm doing okay, boys. It's Friday, so the weekend is here.
The weekend is here indeed, mate. The weekend is here. Now then, this hashtag, 27 minutes for 27 years. It's your floor now, mate. Go on. Tell us the thought process behind this.
The thought process behind this is that Evertonians, I think, are at the point now where we want to spread the message out to the wider football community and to the world in general of just how fed up and exasperated we are about how the club is run and how the club is going about its business in terms of on the field and off the field, and just basically the lack of communication. Because the lack of communication in the last few years particularly has been very, very poor, and it's just got to the point now where Evertonians are not willing to just be angry in silence anymore. Fans feel like we've got to take some sort of public action, something dramatic, to really get the message across of how deeply unhappy we are and how we're not willing to just kind of put up with any more excuses or false information that gets put at us as a reason to justify it.
Like before we talk about the actual action, like what you're referring to there?
In the sense of why we're unhappy.
Yeah.
I mean, for years, when we had no money, when we had, before Farhad Moshiri arrived, the line was always, the reason Everton don't compete at the top end of the table anymore, like they used to in the 80s and even in the decades before that, the line always was, we don't have the financials. Mm-hmm. We don't have the sugar daddy owner. We can't compete with the likes of Chelsea and Man City, who do have those type of owners. We can't compete with the likes of Liverpool and United and Arsenal because they rake in the money because they're such massive global brands. We've just got to plod on and give it our best, which is what we did for many years under David Moyes, and we had some good times under David Moyes and a couple of good times after he left as well under Roberto Martinez in that first season. That was what we were told for years. The reason that we don't succeed anymore in terms of winning big games and going into Europe regularly and picking up silverware is because there was no money to finance that. Now, we've got the money now. We've had it for a few years. Farhad Moshiri came in the door and it was like all those prayers were answered. Finally, things are going to be right with the world. Everton are going to put their best foot forward and great times are hopefully going to be on the horizon. And it's not happened. We've been the same club with money and without money. Just a club that is completely ran inept. At the top of the club, the people who are making the big decisions keep getting the big decisions wrong consistently. Mm-hmm. There are people who are brought into the club who absolutely shouldn't be here because they don't understand the club, they don't respect the club, they don't respect the values of the fans, and they don't understand what the fans expect of them. And what the fans expect is not trophies every season and not regularly trips away in the Champions League and the like of that. Fans just expect people to put the best foot forward. That's all the fans want. They want a football club they can be proud of. They want a football club where they feel like even if we don't achieve what we want to achieve, it's not because we hamstrung ourselves. It was because it was just fate. So you absolutely everything.
Okay, so you're pointing your frustration towards boardroom level, yeah? Guys that are obviously they're responsible for bringing in players, bringing in managers, bringing in the recruitment aspect of the football club. The guys that have the purse strings to spend that money. It's all right having all that dough, but if you're spending it in the wrong direction, then you're obviously going in. You're going to end up in the wrong direction. So that's where the frustration from the fans is.
The frustration is at the board, yes, and there's a lot of people on the boards who people don't understand why they're on the board. I mean, the majority shareholder is Farhad Moshiri. He's the rich man. He's the person who has to dip into his pocket and finance everything. And there's other people on the board, like the director of football, Marcel Brands, who makes zero effort to communicate with the supporters at all. He's never done an interview with the club in-house other than when he was unveiled, and that was 3.5 years ago. He doesn't talk to the English media. He doesn't really put his head above the parapet, really. So fans are frustrated not hearing anything from him and about what the strategy is and what the club are looking to do, and how they pick managers and how they sign players and what they do to identify people they want to bring in. So that's a frustration towards him. They're frustrated at the old guards who've been here for a long, long time, who have oversaw a lot of poor moments for the club, the likes of your Bill Kenwright and other people who've kind of been Bill Kenwright loyalists. The club has won nothing during Bill Kenwright's tenure as chairman, and fans feel, well, now that he's not the majority shareholder anymore, why is he even still here? There's no point. If he's still the chair, people say he's a figurehead now, but he's still officially the chairman. What type of football club, what type of business, in fact, as a chairman who's just there as a figurehead?
But in all fairness, all of the things you're saying to me, really, as a fan, it's none of your business. You know, at the end of the day, right, you're talking about a man that's put £450 million in, and you're on about walking out of a football club. You know, listen, I can understand you being disgruntled. You know, you haven't been in a European competition or haven't qualified for Europe, for twice in 11 years you've qualified for Europe, so I can understand that. And he spent 450 million, and you finished 8th place, no better than that, 8th or 9th place in the league. So I understand the frustration that you want to see Everton back to winning ways, but you know, Everton aren't in the same league, you wouldn't say, as your Man Uniteds, Man Cities, Liverpools, and your Chelseas. Do you know what I mean? I think the recruitment of players has been poor. That is evident. That is evident of the recruitment of players. Rafa's suffering now for the recruitment of all the players that have come in before. I can name you several. You know, I mean, Theo Walcott's one that you wouldn't have touched in the first place, £20 million, and he's gone out the door for a free. That, you know, as a chairman of the football club, you know, you employ people, directors of football, your managers, and you trust them and you give them the money. The chairman has put the money in. You can't argue. Since 2016, he's put 450 million in the club.
Farhad Moshiri isn't the chairman. Farhad Moshiri is the majority shareholder. Bill Kenwright is the chairman. He's been the chairman for 20 plus years. Now, I understand what you're saying when you say, right, some things are private businesses. They have to stay behind closed doors. You can't be putting this out for the entire world to know. But I don't like the idea that, well, if I'm a football fan and I don't like it, if the team's not winning, I should just shut my mouth and go somewhere else. No,
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But listen, we all want our teams to win every weekend, don't we? But we've got to be realistic about what we want and how we're gonna and how you're gonna go about it. Realistic of where you should be in the league and where you should be finishing. I do agree with you. I mean, if you're spending 450 million, if you look at Atletico Madrid, if you look at these teams, if you look at Leicester finishing 4th in the table, they're not spending that type of money. If you look at that, your argument is sustainable. But you know what I don't agree with is the boycott of the game tomorrow. You know, at the end of the day, you're letting the chair, you know, not the chairman, the money man as he was, Fahid, who's putting the money down, and you're letting the players down. There's ways of voicing your opinion like you are doing on TalkSport, and everything you're saying has got a genuine note to it. Obviously, you want your side to be doing well. It's not great when you come up against Liverpool and you lose on a derby day, but you're talking about an exceptional Liverpool team who are back on the front foot. I think they'll be very close to winning the Premier League title again. But, you know, I think Rafa, again, people are saying he's under pressure, but it's not Rafa's fault. I think he's brought in 5 players, hasn't he? He's brought in one player, Gray, for 1.6 million. The rest have all been loanees, have actually done well. Andreas Toney has done well for him and whatever. He's inherited what was there before him. He can't work miracles. He's got injuries to the players at the start of the season. They started very, very brightly. He's now lost his striker, what's his name? Calvin Lewin. He's lost his striker. So it's very difficult for him. He's brought in, like I said, 4 players on loan. You have a genuine argument for what you're saying, but I don't agree with the boycott of the game tomorrow.
Paul, what is the action? What is the action that you're planning on taking?
My action is I plan to get up and leave my seat at 27 minutes, and I plan to leave the stadium. I don't know if every fan's going to do that, whether they're just going to go downstairs to the concourse and maybe come back for half-time. That hasn't been fully established yet. Like, this is still a breaking story. The idea was only put out on social media in the last 2-3 hours. It spread like wildfire, so I imagine we'll get some more clearer details in the next day or so. But as far as I'm concerned, or the way I've taken it, the way I've read from what I've heard, like everyone else, it's get up and leave your seat at 27 minutes and leave the stadium. Now, maybe that's wrong, but that's what I plan to do, because that's the only way I think we can get the points across. There's no point leaving your seat and then coming back 5-10 minutes later, because no real point's been made. Now, to reply to the point you made then, when you said, right, the fans have got to be realistic in what they expect. The fans don't expect to win with titles every season. The fans don't expect to be in Europe every season. The fans expect for the club to put its best foot forward in everything it does. And that's something the fans feel the club has not done for a long, long time, and fans are fed up waiting for the club to do it now. And when you say we're letting it's not about Rafa Benitez. I want to make that point abundantly clear. This is not about Rafa Benitez. It's not. This is about what's going on above Rafa Benitez and the ineptitude that's gone on that has even brought Rafa Benitez to the club. Because if Everton were a club that were getting very well run and everything was fine behind the scenes, Rafa Benitez would not even be here. Rafa Benitez is an ex-Liverpool manager who's very unpopular with the fan base, whether you think that's right or wrong. The fact of the matter is, if Everton were in a very bad state of play, Rafa Benitez would never even been considered for the Everton job. It's not about Rafa Benitez.
I think you're wrong there. I think you're wrong there. Rafa Benitez is a top manager who's... I understand what you're saying because he was at Liverpool, but he's a top manager who's proven he can win silverware and win... You look at your previous managers. You've had Mancini, you've had... you've had some great managers. It's just the recruitment of the players has been poor. That's for sure. Since 2016, the recruitment of players has been really poor.
And who's responsible for the recruitment of the players? Rafa Benitez has been here 5 minutes. It's about the board. It's not about Rafa Benitez. And I want to make this point, and you say, well, we're letting the manager down and we're letting the fans down. We do that. Sorry, we're letting the players down. Do you not think the supporters have let us down for years now? And they've seen so many managers come and go. They're letting their old managers down. They're getting managers to sack.
Paul, what's the objective of the 27-minute walkout? Just for people that are just tuning into this, the 27-minute walkout is obviously because 27 years it's been without silverware. That's why you're going at 27 minutes. So what's the objective?
The objective is to get the message across to the world that Evertonians do not like how the club is run. We don't like the lack of communication between the board and the fans, and that's not hard. That's not unreasonable to expect a bit more communication. Other clubs do it, and they do it very, very well, and their relationship with their fans is great because of it. The whole point of this is to get across that we don't like the way the club goes about things. We don't like how the fact that the club are constantly making mistakes and not learning from them. We don't like how the club are hanging certain people out to dry, which is what they're doing in a sense with Rafa Benitez, and what they're doing to certain players who have been left in the team for too long and haven't been replaced and are seeing their legacies at the club.
Well, I'm sorry, they're not hanging Rafa Benitez out to dry. I believe he's on 7 to 11 million a year if he's reported. So I can't believe the managers are going to the football club. Salam Allardyce has gone there. They've had Mancini there. They've had the Real Madrid manager, Ancelotti. These managers are not going there without promise of funds to spend. I'm sure that Rafa Benitez, when he went in there, he knew that the fair play ruling was in place. He knows that he's not got a great deal of money to spend in the January transfer window. He knew that, so he's not been hung out to dry. He knows the job that he's going in to do.
He's being hung out to dry in the sense that he's the one who all the fans are voicing all their frustration towards because he's the only one who's visible. No one else is putting their head above the parapet and taking any responsibility.
I get that, but
other than Farhad Bashir, he sent Jim a text on the morning show. We've not heard anything for months.
Yeah, but I get that.
So he is being hung out to dry in the sense that he's the only one who's basically putting himself out there and taking the...
No, he's not been hung out to dry. He's a former... He managed Liverpool. You're gonna... If you go from...
I'm saying he's being hung out to dry in the sense that he's the one who's basically having to answer for all this bad thing that's going wrong when he's not responsible for the vast majority of it.
No, I agree with you, but he knows the position that he put himself by taking the job. And if you take the job when you've been former manager of Liverpool, you know that you've got to be doing well at Everton. Otherwise, at some point, the tide's going to turn.
Paul, what do you think? What's the take-up going to be like over the weekend on this, do you think?
Well, you don't know. I mean, things right now it's like wildfire. It's going around everywhere. Now, some supporters say that they're going to join in, whether they do or not, because these ideas that form on social media and can seem like a big thing. History shows that these things don't always come off and always go to plan. People can just say a lot of hot air on Twitter, say they're going to take part in things, and then ultimately they don't when the moment comes. I really hope that doesn't happen. I really hope that fans kind of get on board with this, okay? Because I don't agree that it's letting the players down or it's letting the manager down. We've been let down enough by the players in the last few years, and if that's making the support, if the players look at the fans leaving and get upset by that and decide not to put any effort in, and that says more about them than it does about the fans.
That's a fair point, Paul. Listen, thank you very much, mate, for coming to join us and obviously air all that. Toffee Blues fan club, Paul McAllister at Originals 1878 on Twitter is who appear to be behind the movement of 27 minute walkout at Goodison this weekend. If you're an Evertonian and you're listening to that and you've seen that on social media, and obviously you've heard Paul there his grievances towards the board and where the club is currently at, 03717 22 33 are you going to walk out this weekend from watching your side on 27 minutes to prove a point to the board?